in which we would use a more conventional source for heat. In a conventional power plant, most power plants, the source of heat energy is coal, burning coal. Some power plants rely on natural gas or petroleum. We'll take a look at these more conventional fuels towards the end of this semester. But anyway, the source of the heat energy is just burning the coal, natural gas, or petroleum. And so the way a conventional power plant works is that some coal is brought to the power plant and it is ignited. And it burns. And what it does is it just heats water in a boiler. And the water is liquid originally. It's heated, and when water is heated, it boils, and it goes into water vapor or a gas. And then the gas, expands and moves through some piping over to a turbine. And the steam, the moving gas, turns the turbine, which then generates electricity. All right, so a turbine just has paddles that get pushed by the steam, and the electricity is generated because coils of wire are spinning around a magnet. Or some generators work where a magnet is spinning around a wire. Either or, you're going to generate a current, which is what we call electricity. Well, that water then is passed back through a cooling unit, and it's liquefied and returns to the boiler, and it's in this loop of going from liquid to gas, liquid to gas. So the energy is converted from heat energy to mechanical energy to electrical energy. And then you always have some sort of cooling area, and a lot of times it's just an external body of water, such as a river or a reservoir or the ocean, where this water is pumping around and cooling the steam back to liquid water, and then that warm water is put back into the large body of water. That's basically how a conventional power plant works. Now, a nuclear power plant, when you look at a diagram of a nuclear power plant, when you look at a nuclear power plant, when you look at the right-hand side of the power plant, it looks very similar to the right-hand side of the conventional power plant. You have steam that's been generated by some heat source. It flips the paddles of a turbine, which then generates electricity. So this whole part of the power plant, the back end of the power plant, is the same as a conventional power plant. The difference is the source of the heat. The source of the heat for the nuclear power plant is a fission reaction. And we saw in the last video that fission reactions give off heat energy. So what happens is you have this primary coolant, which is water normally mixed with boric acid or some other neutron absorber, in a closed loop circulating around what's called nuclear fuel rods. The nuclear fuel rods have in them some small percentage of uranium-235, which is undergoing a sustained chain reaction and giving off heat. That heat energy heats this coolant, which stays liquid all the time because it's pressurized, it's under high pressure, and this super hot coolant, the super hot liquid circles around this steam generator and heats the water to boiling. So this secondary water loop here, the water is going from liquid here to gas here as it passes across this super hot liquid that's going around the fission reaction. And then that steam liquid cycle provides mechanical energy to flip the paddle of the turbine to generate electricity. Now this water is cooled by a third cooling water loop that is normally also coming from some external water source. This is very similar to how we cool water in the primary loop for a conventional power plant, only in this case we have three. And the reason why is because, as we will see in a later video, that the nuclear fission products themselves are dangerous because they undergo toxic activity, which we'll talk about in a later video. In this case, I just want you to be familiar with how a nuclear power plant works. Okay? So now the reaction that's going on inside the nuclear reactor is a chain reaction with the uranium-235. And the reason why it's called a chain reaction is because every time a neutron collides with the uranium-235 nuclide, two fission products plus several neutrons are produced. Those neutrons are then free to go and collide with another uranium-235. And you'll notice here that the fission products vary. Barium, krypton, strontium, xenon. There's all different types of zirconium. There's all different types of iron nuclides, cesium, that are produced. So it's not just one reaction, but you can get a variety of fission products with these nuclear reactions. Okay, but the important thing here is that once you start this nuclear reaction with some initiating neutron, then the reaction is self-sustaining because the reaction itself produces more neutrons, which then in turn will collide with more uranium-235 isotopes and continue the reaction. Okay, so in the nuclear reactor, if we go back up here and look, a very important part of the nuclear reactor is the control rods. What the control rods are doing is controlling the rate of this chain reaction. The control rods are neutron absorbers. Okay, and so when you first start, when you first put your fuel down into this the reaction chamber, then there's a lot of uranium-235 has not undergone fission yet, so there's a lot of neutrons that are being produced. So you don't want the reaction to go too fast. You want to have this nice controlled amount of heat given off, so the control rods are lowered. And as the uranium-235 concentration goes down as it reacts away, then the operators slowly lift up the control rods to keep a constant amount of energy being produced. Okay, so the control rods absorb the neutrons to help sustain and control the nuclear chain reaction. Okay? And then the fuel rod is packaged together in a fuel assembly, and inside the fuel rod are individual pellets. And inside these little plastic, or they're not plastic, they're actually metal fuel little pellets is uranium oxide. And the uranium is mostly uranium-238. It comes out of the ground mostly as uranium-238.
Strike Joe
with
on the
only
video.
a very small percentage of uranium-235.
Strike.
Uranium-235 is the fissionable isotope of uranium. And so as it comes out of the ground, it's about 0.7% of uranium-235.
Shout out to
and so it has to be dug out of the ground.
my baby daddy.
Canada and
Shout out
Southern
to
Africa and other places around the world. They dig out this rock that contains uranium-238, and then they enrich it. They have ways of separating the uranium-235 from 238 to increase the concentration of these. And then they add it back to uranium-235 to increase the concentration to about 3% uranium-235. That's what we call fuel-grade uranium. And so that's what's packaged in these little pellets. These little pellets are assembled into these fuel rods, and these fuel rods are bundled into fuel assembly. Now you want to keep them separated until you're ready to use them, because again, the reaction, once you initiate the reaction, it's just going to go. So you have to be very careful about controlling the neutrons that you're using. And then here in the core is where the fuel assembly is down. The nuclear reactor is housed in the core. And then over here, this is the cooling tower. This is just the last cooling cycle of water is out there, and it takes a lot of evaporation to cool that water back down. Okay, so here's just a couple pictures of some nuclear power plants. The cooling towers are huge. The actual core is relatively small because you don't need that much fuel, as you know, to use that much energy. And here's the inside picture of the fuel assembly right here being lowered into a nuclear reactor core.
Check this out.
Now, one thing that that I just want to go over is I just want you to be aware of some basic parts of the power plant. You can read about this in your book because I'm going over it very quickly, but I'm just highlighting some of the parts of the power plant that I want you to be familiar with. The control rods I just talked to you about, they have to be made from some material that's a good neutron absorber, like cadmium or boron, so they can control the amount of neutrons. The primary coolant, of course, is the liquid that comes actually in contact with the reactor. And again, boric acid is added in there because boron, again, is a good neutron absorber. The secondary coolant then transfers into the primary coolant as hot steam to drive the turbine. then the steam is pulled back down to a liquid by going through this tertiary coolant system. So it's 3 loops of liquid basically to control the heat of the water. Okay, and so in addition, there's a considerable amount of waste heat because the water gets so hot that needs to be dealt with as well. Okay. And one of the things you've probably heard about is that after the nuclear fuel is spent, then what to do with the nuclear waste. And right now, all of the nuclear waste, the fuel rods that don't have enough heat energy left to sustain the chain reaction and produce enough heat to generate electricity, are just stored on site. And we'll talk about the issues around this nuclear waste after we talk about radioactivity here in a couple of days. But just know that the nuclear waste is stored right on site. And we'll talk about this in the context of the recent nuclear accident at Fukushima in Japan as a result of this tsunami. Alright, so from this little lecture video, I just want you to be able to label the parts of a power plant, describe the difference between a conventional power plant and a nuclear power plant, and understand the concept of fusion reaction. Those are the
Can you pause it on there?
Video, and you can read about all of this in chapter 7 in your book.
Label.
My notes all explain that part to be good.
Mine doesn't.
Guys, then we have 5 minutes. You feel free to watch radiation at your house. If you can't see it tomorrow before the quiz, I'll play it. So, Jonathan, you're not going to be here tomorrow. Okay, take my number down.
Why aren't you gonna be here?
Is it on the...
I don't know if mine's on there. I don't know. That one goes to 744 87
74487.
Guys, and you can feel free to text me. I'm not a big on the phone person, But
Me
if you
either.
text me, I'll get back to you.
7448746.
744-87.
So, I have to take this test.
My number is 4.
What time?
Give her your number
In 10 minutes, I'm going to be home from
put you on speed dial.
What time I'll be done, but I'm more than that.
Okay. So then give me a heads up and let me
Bye,
know.
everybody.
And I'll move it.
Can I get 7?